Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics from the St. Louis Police Officers Union Hall in Southampton in the city of St. Louis. We are joined by Jay Schroeder. Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Martin Garcia, thank you so much for the hospitality.
Yes, sir.
You have worked on this issue. My goodness, I think you had hair when you started it, right? I'll tell you, when people ask me to describe Mike Kehoe, I use one word: winner. He wins. You guys worked this issue, and when everything came together right, the right guy, it was top priority. It felt like the wind was just at your back last session.
Correct. Yes, it was. Everything. It was a long road. Martin and I had started this process years and years ago. I mean, basically started work on it the minute that it happened.
Yeah.
To get back.
And I think for years people were like, "Oh, come on, that's not really going to happen." I mean, it wasn't that long ago when people would say, "Oh, that's not real. That can't happen."
That was correct. I mean, up until 3 years ago, people were like, "What you're wasting your time. You're wasting your money. This is a dead issue." And last year, this 2 sessions ago, we kind of ran into some roadblocks there, and there were some other things going on. But this year, we had the plan in motion. We had the right people running the bill, and it was a windfall. I mean, get it done before spring break.
Yeah.
Often it's a great bill.
A huge piece of landmark legislation is a last week of session thing.
Correct.
This wasn't. I really feel like the day that this started to come together is the day Mike Kehoe won that primary. Now, I have known that all the candidates for governor were for the state control. But the guy that could get it done, when he won that primary, and I think even on the podium said, "We're going to take over the state, the police department," I think that's whenever this went from, okay, maybe this is going to happen, to this is going to happen.
Absolutely. He had a unique understanding of these issues that we've faced and have been fighting about. And to Jay's credit, the dedication and Kehoe fed off of that. Jay was working a 40-hour week and spending time in Jefferson City on our behalves. And Kehoe built off of that and got it there amazingly.
So what has been surprising to me is guys I've met in this room that are not you, that are members of the union, but just officer on the street. I underestimated the morale boost this was going to be.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, through the last few years when this really started to pick up, every day people would call Martin and I, "Where's this bill at? Where's it at? Where's it going? Where's it going?" And the minute it passed, it was unbelievable moment sitting in the Capitol that night.
And you have to understand also, though, the reason that the morale boost was so palatable is that we were suffering. It was bad. Policemen leaving in droves, mismanagement, all kinds of issues with paychecks, dues increases, not getting paid. We were in an awful spot. So,
what was it like to be able to go back to your guys and say, "Hey, this is going to happen," or "Hey, this is happening," or "Hey, this happened"?
I don't think either of us really, even when it passed, we didn't even call anybody really. It felt surreal that night when it came out of the Senate committee, and seeing how the bread is made, so to speak. It's a credit to the men you're going to interview later, and to Mike Kehoe and Jay and our lobbyists and our staff here who just work tirelessly for it.
You don't make a lot of money doing what you do, but boy, that's got to be part of the payment, is when you have a day like you've had, have a bill signing here, and you get to see how much it means to those guys.
It was awesome. My family's been on the police department here since like 1891, so it's always been a state-controlled police department, and to be able to get that done with help from, it was a huge effort. Our lobbyist, Mark Bruns, when I told him that, I thought he was going to fall out of his chair. When I told him we're going back to get state control, we had just had a big giant bill, the Bill of Rights passed, and he's like, "What next?" And I said, "Well, let's just state control." And he's like, "Oh boy." So in being here and seeing how happy everybody was, it felt really great to get that.
I gotta admit, that is the one thing I knew how hard you'd worked, and I anticipated you being really happy. Your guys, I truly underestimated how much this meant to them, and it's kind of fun to see those guys almost reinvigorated.
Oh.
But let me talk about not the guys that are here now, what it's done for recruitment.
Martin probably answered that one the best.
So my understanding is that we've had an influx of academy recruits, and what Chief Tracy has brought some policemen back who have left, probably around 40 if my numbers are right, and then we have a pretty full class, around 20, which is high for us. So it is trending in the right direction, but that stuff takes time.
Tell me about Chief Tracy. I've heard from your members, legislators, even the governor. He wants Chief Tracy to stay on. What is y'all's relationship with Chief Tracy?
Go ahead.
Well, I have a good relationship with him. We're still waiting to see how this board and him working with and for the board pans out. I certainly think he is a capable chief, and there are some areas where we may not agree, but we can do so. We can disagree respectfully.
Well, you're not going to agree all the time. That's not real. But overall, I mean, are you supportive of him staying?
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm retired. But yeah, I mean, I actually, I think part of this transition is to have some stable leadership in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think coming in right away and moving a chief out or doing any of this stuff would be good for the department itself. I think, he knows the place. He's been here 3 years now almost. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually good for the department maybe to keep him around until it stabilizes, or he doesn't want to be here anymore, or something else happens.
Talk to me about probably the most important thing, retention. I've heard you guys talk about this since you've talked about this issue. Retention's always been a problem. What will this legislation, the state control, do for retention?
I think you're going to see that right away. Another thing with this too is this next class coming up. There's legacies in that class. I mean, there's policemen's kids who are coming back to this police department. I have relatives that are coming into this class. So I mean, that says a lot when guys are having their kids come onto the department. They're staying, they're having their kids come onto the department. And a big part of that is the state control.
Well, you have generations of police officers and their sons have came through this very room, right?
Correct.
That is neat. Tell me about retention. I mean, that always felt like to me the singular issue that was never off the table, no matter state control or whatever. Retention's been a problem.
It has been, and with this board and this place, this union hall, we have really focused on that along with recruitment. I think, again, it's going to take a little time. Sure, it doesn't happen overnight, but when you have a leadership group like the Board of Police Commissioners who take a serious interest in working conditions and to include pay, that attention will pay off eventually.
Tell me what's going to change. And I know nothing happens overnight. What are you looking to see happen that'll benefit the citizens of St. Louis and therefore the entire state?
So I've been asked this before, and I probably don't explain it right, but it starts small. It starts with the little stuff, right? So, for example, getting your paycheck, that's pretty important. Working conditions, having access to the databases that the investigators use for all kinds of criminal investigation, that's important. And then the leadership. And so right now we have this new board, and as their leadership is displayed, I think, policemen are going to want to stick around and wait it out and see. And so that benefits us all. And these five members these six members who are vested in this city, they understand that it's not only about solving high-profile crimes. It's about policemen on the street. It's about uniforms. It's about a patrol presence. And so those beliefs that I'm sure that they have will trickle down, and that's where the citizens and visitors and the general public will see the effect.
Give me some timetables here. I know this is not an exact science. When is the time you think folks might feel a little safer downtown?
Well, I think people will start feeling safer downtown when the businesses start coming back, right? So when you can walk
more
somewhere,
lights, more people.
Yeah, you can walk somewhere and have lunch. You can do those things. I think that's when people will start saying, all right, maybe downtown is safer. It's going to be a process, and it's going to take a little bit. But I think once the community sees that, the state's invested, Governor Kehoe's definitely invested in St. Louis. The police are starting to get reinvested in St. Louis now with the board. I think businesses will start getting reinvested in St. Louis, and then people will start feeling safe.
Congratulations to both of you, and thank you so much for the time.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Representative Brad Chris is going to join us from just down the street after this.
The St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
We have a severe weather alert to report here. The storms also bring to a threat of damage, winds, and large.
Here's the thing. When storms bear down, we step up.
Ready to get?
You bet.
Our teams are always ready to keep your power strong. Ameren.com/poweron.
Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics. We are still here at the St. Louis Police Officers Association Hall down on Southampton in beautiful South City, St. Louis. Not far from Brad Chris District, are we?
That's right. It took me about 10 minutes to get here, and I grew up in Shrewsbury, about stone's throw away, Cross River to Pear.
Thank you so much for joining us. Representative Dave Hinman, thank you so much for the time.
I appreciate the offer to come in.
Busy week, busy summer.
Been a busy week and busy summer. Spent the day in Jeff City yesterday, working on legislation, meeting with people. And
About the time you get home all summer, they've been calling you back.
I know.
And for the show, thank you so much, Nick Schroer, St. Charles County State Senator. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The state control of the St. Louis Police Department has been an issue since the day I met you. You've been talking about this issue. I think you are more closely associated with this than anybody I know. You really were back. It seemed like it was going to happen. Now it seems like, of course, this happened. You were the one toiling for this legislation when nobody thought this was going to happen. Tell me why this was such an important cause to take back state control of the St. Louis Police Department.
Well, you know, public safety has always been a passion of mine. My undergrad was in criminology and criminal justice, and I was on the path to become a law enforcement officer until I met my wife, who said, no, we're not going to create a family and have you off, being an undercover, whatever. My path took a different route, but I always still had that passion for public safety, especially in St. Louis, where we've seen the region dying, the region that was once competing with Chicago and New York City as like the heartbeat of America is now just barely hanging on. And I remember the press conference that I had 5 years ago in this building right here, and walking around looking at all the pictures of the fallen officers, but also hearing about a mayor that came in at the time, Tashara Jones, who was campaigning on defunding the police. When we need a time right now where we should be backing the men and women who are on these walls that have end of watch dates all over. They lay their lives on the line to protect our constitutional rights and keep us safe. And that was something that I just threw out. I don't know if Jay and the other guys here knew that I was going to say that, but at that time I made a promise that if the city was going to continue defunding police, I was going to defend them by taking back control and putting it in the hands of citizens that have the vested interest out here.
Brad, you serve with people from all over the state. I'm always shocked that people don't understand that if you're a gun store owner in West Plains, if you're a truck driver in Odessa, what happens in the city of St. Louis, not indirectly, it directly affects this entire state.
No, you're absolutely right, and I'm passionate about it because I'm from this region and this is my home, but and my colleagues are probably tired of hearing it, but it truly is the economic engine of the state.
Sure.
And any stat you look at, it's about
40 to 45% of our revenue in the state. And so as St. Louis goes, the state goes, and it really helps fund everything in the state. Like you're saying, from down to West Plains, you know, a lot of these areas, our districts in the suburban area, we sometimes produce more than we get back from the state. But areas like St. Louis help produce more in districts that aren't really, their economies aren't thriving and producing a lot for the state. So,
Representative, it is a regional issue, crime in the city of St. Louis. I mean, it affects the state's bottom line in every way, but also, you know, regionally, the region can't succeed without the core of the city succeeding itself.
You're absolutely right, and I represent the city of Faughn, and we have a lot of folks that say it doesn't really matter what happens in St. Louis, but they're totally wrong.
Yeah.
Because what happens here affects us in St. Charles County and out in O'Fallon and even further out. So we need to make sure that as a whole that we take care of what's happening down here in St. Louis.
You know, Senator, it is very true. You take Jason Bean, my senator. Whether you can build a highway in Poplar Bluff, whether you have farm subsidies in the Boot Heel, that money is affected by St. Louis, and it ripples out all the way to your district out in the western part of St. Charles County. This is a region that is tied, no matter how you get around it, to the city core. And what shocked me was folks would say everything's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, even in the city of St. Louis, thinks everything's fine right now.
Well, we're seeing in Portland, we're seeing in Chicago, we're seeing in New York and California, the president is taking on crime. And you see Democrats in those cities saying everything is fine. And you get the boots on the ground, you talk to the police, and they say, no, it's far from fine. And that's how it's been in the city of St. Louis for a very long time. And some of my colleagues who I respect and work with on a day-to-day basis, they understood behind closed doors that something needed to be done. And, you know, I applaud them as much as I applaud my Republican colleagues for coming to the table and finally prioritizing this, because you're right. The city of St. Louis, it's the heartbeat of our state. With St. Louis goes the entire state of Missouri. And we've seen population kind of going in the right direction, but not as fast as Arkansas or Kansas. We've seen a once thriving area in St. Louis where we had hockey, football, baseball, everything is now kind of depleted. And you go to the Cardinals games right now and you can get green seats for next to nothing, which says a lot about the management of the team, but it also says people aren't willing to come down and invest in this area. And we have to change that. And it all starts with public safety.
If they weren't awful, I would come. I just want to be clear. It's for me, it's mostly that they're awful. But yeah, it does matter. I mean, I always kind of go by, I've asked a few people this question. If Casey was out and went to a ball game, went to patios, and would I trust her to walk up to the Mayfair or whatever up on Washington Avenue? No, I wouldn't think she was safe. I'm not sure I'd walk those blocks. To me, there's some of those small, soft ways you can tell whether a city's safe. And I don't know anybody that thinks St. Louis passes those right now.
I would agree, and I think all of us have some connection to St. Louis. I have a son that works in downtown St. Louis every day, drives down there, and you know, I can't say that I don't worry about him down there, even during the day, for a safety standpoint. And so again, that's why we need to work on this and make sure that safety is a top priority.
Representative, you found a big ally in this fight in Governor Kehoe. This was a personal fight to him. It felt like when you two talk about the city, it sounds different sometimes when other Republicans talk about the city. You really found a champion in Governor Kehoe, didn't you?
yeah, he was the catalyst to this session really after he won his governorship, and extremely grateful for him. But yeah, he actually has deep roots in North City and this region. I have deep roots in South County and South City. And so we have very different upbringings in different areas of the city, but the same type of love and aspirations are the same for St. Louis. And so we have a ton of emotional connections to the city. So yeah, he was a great ally. And like I said, I think he, it was one of his first initiatives that he campaigned on. And, he's a man of action, not words. So he came in hard charging in session.
Tell me what it was like when this thing finally gets perfected in the Senate. Did you call him? Did you text him? Did you tell Drew? What was that like?
No, we were working with Kehoe the whole time. I remember when Governor Kehoe won the primary. I sat down with him. We went over priorities, and everything he laid out were my priorities. And I said, Governor, it sounds like you're the new chairman of the Freedom Caucus. And from that point, he kind of realized, and I think we both realized, that we've got more in common in our own party. Year after year after year, Republicans going at each other. And this year, you finally have a new change, not only in the White House, but not the Senate leadership, the House leadership, and the governor's mansion. they all kind of came together saying, guys, we've got a supermajority Republican Party. The city of St. Louis is dying. We've got police officers that are leaving the profession altogether because they don't have the protection that they should have. Let's get this act together. And it was the first bill on his desk.
All right. Tell me, folks that care about the city, there is a passionate advocacy for gun control. There is an argument that I've heard some cops make that says, yeah, what we could do to get fewer guns would be helpful. That is something that won't sell in the Missouri Senate. What do you say to somebody who's truly in this with you, wanting to solve this problem, that thinks gun control should be part of the solution?
Well, I think we need to look at juvenile crime, number one, because most of the conversations that we're having that stem into gun control in the city of St. Louis relate to juvenile crime. When we look at the point system, juveniles are let back out on the streets time and time again that should be locked up, that should be given those resources. And I look at the laws that we have now, very strict laws on the books, preventing guns from getting in the hands of criminals, getting in the hands of crazy people. Those laws don't work. So we need to focus on mental health. We need to focus on getting law enforcement on the ground to be that deterrent effect. Look at the broken windows theory, and it's proven true in the city of St. Louis right now. Yeah. So why don't we focus on getting those resources to people, deter the crime? If you see something, say something, allow people to get that mental health care that we need. I know a couple of years ago, the Missouri House and Senate came together to start building new mental hospitals, mental institutions. And that's going to be one of the focuses of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, is making Missouri healthy again. And that is one key component, is the mental health care of the people, namely the homeless and the criminals that so direly need it.
Representative, I almost want to duck. If Aaron Dorr was here, he'd have something chucked at me. But the truth is, there are folks that are not saying they're not head in the sand people. They think there's a problem. They think gun control should be part of the solution. What do you say to those people that earnestly are in this with you, that advocate that should be part of your approach?
Yeah, I mean, I've had this discussion with my Democrat colleagues till I'm blue in the face. But, for the longest time in St. Louis, we had laws that didn't mean anything. We had a prosecutor that wasn't prosecuting crimes. We had a police department that was depleted and defunded. So we can make every law in the world. It doesn't matter if no one's enforcing them or prosecuting them. Yeah. And so I've always told them I'm happy to come to the table and talk about any discussion that they have, but they also have to come to the table and talk about crime and policing and other things that actually work and matter and have a history of working.
Representative, you've got to hear this from folks. I hear this from folks that just don't want to do anything, frankly. It is to them, I think, a dishonest maybe argument, maybe red herring. But I hear this from people who are part of the solution. They want to be part of the solution. What do you say to them when they say, well, okay, do this and do some level of gun control in the city?
Well, I think, as the senator was saying, I think two of the key things is mental health. And that's something that has to be addressed as part of gun control, is making sure that we take care of that piece of it. And the second piece is the youth involvement with guns. And it has gotten out of hand, not only in the city of St. Louis, but all over, where young people are getting a hold of guns that should never have them, aren't stable enough to have a gun, and just choose to use it in a way that shouldn't be.
We're talking about young people, though. You had a bill to help maybe recruit more officers by helping with some educational benefits. Tell folks what that actually entailed.
Absolutely. This bill was brought to us this year. It was modeled after a bill in Nebraska, and was brought to a few of us, the senator and myself and Representative Christ. And to try to get that done in 1 year was an impossible task, but we got it accomplished. It is a huge benefit for all of our public safety employees, whether police, fire, jailers, dispatchers, whatever that may be, in order to provide an education for them, a free education. If they've been in their job for 6 years, that employee can get a free education, a bachelor's degree, and after 10 years, their dependents have that same opportunity to get a degree in something that's going to benefit, again, in public safety.
Brad, I think the part of this that I might have underestimated, honestly, was the impact of the morale on the officers. Guys I know, they're not Joe and Jay. They're guys I've met here in this very hall that I've kept in contact with. The morale with your average St. Louis police officer right now, I've never seen it as high as it is today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we did a bill signing in this very room for the state board bill. And, yeah, I mean, I was choked up during that. The amount of hugs and high fives and handshakes of people that were genuinely infected by both of these bills that we're talking about today was through the roof. And sometimes that gets lost in Jeff City when you're in the, details of passing legislation, how it really affects people. But then when you come to an event like that bill signing and see it, and then you talk to officers on the street or you're getting emails from officers after about tuition assistance or whatever it might be, it's pretty powerful.
Got to make you feel good. It made me feel good, and I haven't been in the fight with you to keep up with guys I know that are on the police force. Again, these are not your top union guys.
Yeah.
These are guys who actually are in a different place. They've wanted this. They may not live and die with it. To see the morale boost and see the excitement, that's got to make you feel good. It's got to be why you do this.
Yeah, it really is. And there was one guy in particular I met at Guns and Hoses. Saw him at different events. He came back from active duty overseas and put his life on the line over there, put his life on the line on our streets, and come paycheck time, his paycheck wasn't there. And I remember specifically him tearing up at Guns and Hoses. We're at this benefit where firefighters, police are fighting together to raise money for backstoppers. And he says, look, my paycheck wasn't there. I go to the city because they were controlling the paycheck. They wrote me a hand check or a paper check that bounced. And this got brought up in the hearing 2 years ago in the city at the time under Tashara Jones said, yeah, that was happening. But we're making sure it doesn't happen again. And now seeing these same people coming in saying, we now feel secure. We now feel like our voices are heard by top brass, by the elected officials, and by the board. It's game changing.
Let me ask you a question before we go. The board members have been nominated by Governor Kehoe to pretty good acclaim.
Yeah.
Do you see any problem getting them confirmed in the Missouri Senate?
Well, I think the Democrats, they made clear that anything happening next year, they're going to kick and scream, they're going to fight, they're going to filibuster. But I think these people, they're all proven leaders. Ultimately, I think all of them will be confirmed.
With a minute left to win the week.
Republican fundraising. We've had a killer summer and a killer Q3. Clearly the people of Missouri, from grassroots to donors to all types of demographics, are happy with what Republicans are doing in Missouri and still want to support us.
Who won the week?
I'm going to say City of Faughn, City of St. Charles. Just recently, we started construction of our new police training facility out in St. Charles County, and it is going to be a tremendous benefit for police officers around the entire region and state.
Congratulations on the outstanding Oktoberfest. The top Oktoberfest in the state is in St. Charles and Frontier Park. It's outstanding. Who won the week?
I was going to say Scott Faughn because the engagement with Casey and all of that.
Yeah.
However, our Senator Eric Schmidt, who brought a lot of the bacon back home, rebuilding. We were just there at the signing or the kickoff, the groundbreaking at Lambert Airport. He's putting our region as his number one priority. So Eric Schmidt.
He has been having to scratch and fight for this state, and as he should. It's great to see. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to say first, I'm going to do two. First of all, Mark Bruns, who I know has worked the Capitol. He's worn out several pairs of shoes working on this piece of legislation. It's very nice to see a vision that really the first people I knew that had this in reality was you and him.
Yeah.
Works hard to see this come to fruition. And John Patterson, Speaker of the House running for state Senate, monster fundraising quarter. He's already one to watch, but he's taking that race very seriously. Hope you'll take things seriously and join us next week here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is brought to you by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, Evergy, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.